This is part 2 of the Ultimate Walking Dead Season 8 trailer breakdown. I want to jump right into this, but if you clicked on this one before watching part 1, check out part 1 and then jump back over to part 2. There's some epic stuff, everything that I noticed. Let me know down in the comment box if I missed anything that you picked up. Now let's start off with Maggie and Rick. We got Maggie and Rick talking about fighting ever since the farm, and this is where everyone is being introduced to each other at the Hilltop, I'm assuming, and they're having this rally cry before they head into war. This is where Morgan, you can see the red band on him, but see how it's like kind of hidden? Jesus has a band too. It's green and it's also kind of hidden. But this is Morgan in what I think is his little camp. I think he's camping out in the woods like he was before when we saw his solo episode with him and Eastman. Now he flips his stick and he goes to attack, and this is really clever. Later on we see that Jesus hides behind a tree. I love that. But I don't think they're training. I think a lot of people think they're training. I don't think that. I think, look right here, Jesus has a green band. Just want to point that out to confirm it. I think Morgan wants to fight and attack. I think Jerry gets killed, Morgan loses his shit, and he camps out outside the Saviors, and he's going to kill them as soon as they come out. Morgan's the one watching because they're surrounded by zombies. Morgan stays, and he's going to kill them one by one as they come out, or something like that, right? That could be a big stretch, but we saw that he makes the spikes. We saw that someone else walks into a spike trap. I'm guessing Jesus is like, dude, don't do this, and Morgan just tries to beat him up to get him to leave, and Jesus is dodging him, and in the one moment, Jesus says something that resonates with Morgan, and I think he looks up, and it hits him in that moment, but I don't think he leaves. I think he stays there. This is just that part where Enid tells Aaron, we need a win, and that's why I think this happens after Rick gets captured. I think they get some type of win in the sanctuary in the first episode, and then, or maybe even a second episode, and then after that, Rick gets captured, they get some kind of defeat somewhere. Rick here is fighting this guy. I can't place this guy, but Rick gets a really good shot in. By the look of the hallway, this looks like the same area that him and Carol and Daryl were going in, and a couple other saviors, so that might be one of the outposts. There might be two different outposts and the sanctuary, which makes it a bit confusing. Here is Michonne and Rosita. They're also going out on their own little mission to some type of outpost, or they are looking for a captured Rick Grimes, or her and Rosita go to look for the area where Eugene found to make the bullets. That could be their whole mission right here. Instead of going to war so she can heal up, her and Rosita are taking the list that Rick had from Eugene, and they're going to make bullets. But guess what? Eugene told the Saviors about the place, and Negan sent some Saviors. So now they're having a war or a little mini skirmish for the ammo factory. Oh man, that could be another little small part of the war. So this part is very strange. It's as if they have a plan. It's gonna happen in another few minutes, but something goes early, some type of explosion. Negan has Saviors that are ready and waiting, and they spring an attack on the Kingdom people first. It's a real weird shot. It looks like they're resting and then they jump up and go to war. This image is neat. I love it. You can see Gavin back there. I think that is awesome. You got Gavin, Simon, a rat, and the Saviors are now trapped in, and they're pissed, and I think this might be Father Gabriel or Dwight. I think maybe Dwight says something, and maybe Simon's kind of pissed or annoyed at him, or frustrated or something, and this is when he says, oh, you're completely wrong about that. There's something here, not a mix. You see everyone's kind of looking pissed. However, I don't know if they would let one of the survivors just be standing there. I think they would kind of beat his ass, but I love seeing all the Saviors here, because now it confirms that Gavin and his group, they are from the sanctuary, so that is definitely cool. This image right here, look at all the way to the left first. You see a guy with a gun. He's guarding this, what looks like, or what appears to be, prisoner. He's rubbing his wrists, and he's got this really, shit-eating grin on, because this guy is a piece of shit. I forget his name already. The other guy's name was Gavin, right? And then this guy's name was Shitlicker. Anyway, so Shitlicker is rubbing his wrists. If you look at this next image, I pulled it from a different part of the trailer. We already looked at this where he's kind of cutting it with a rock. He could cut it and then get out of the binds himself. He's already locked up. What are they going to do? Or he cut it and he's got the shit-eating grin because he's going to attack somebody and get out or try to get out. Or, he's trying to cut the rope and because he's a shit licker, he fails and they let him, out of his ropes. But this is interesting because this proves he's going to get captured as well. So this is very interesting. What are they going to do with their prisoners? For some of them, like this guy should die, but some of the prisoners on the Savior's side, they might work with you. They might not even want the war. Some of them might just be like, and I wish we see some of them just go, you know what, I'm done. I won't bother you guys, feed me, leave me locked up until the war's over. Negan makes us fight. I hate living there. Just leave me be right here. I want to see some people that are like that. Not all of them, just a couple, just to show the difference. This image is very telling. Look at that bitch next to Jadis. She looks pissed. So I'm thinking this is Rick. I'm thinking somehow they captured Rick and he is brought to them. I'll show you the picture. He is brought to them. This bitch looks like a bitch. And then Jadis holds up her hand and she's like, no, we're not going to kill him just yet. We're going to hang on to him because he's worth more to us alive than he is dead. It'll keep his people from attacking. And then see that little hole in the back? And then remember the eye looking out at the hole? I think this is them and they're right about to put Rick in that. They take his clothes for some reason, which is another thing. If they take Rick's clothes, is this the end of Rick's genes? On all the collectibles, all the figures, a lot of the fans will pick it to death if it's missing the hole where he got shot when he fought the governor. It's been there this entire time. You can see it later on in the trailer too. So if they capture him, this might be a clue that his clothes are gone, unless they conveniently give him his clothes back. You get Morgan walking back, and this is probably them meeting up either before they do their mission or after they do their mission. And here's more of the kingdom people going towards, I believe, the sanctuary. They're about to attack the sanctuary. Now this is an interesting image of Carl because he's raising his gun up, and the way he does it right here, he definitely sees somebody that pokes out from behind, a car, a bush, a tree, something. More of Michonne at that place where they are looking for, I'm assuming, either the ammo factory or Rick. This is Maggie giving her speech, kind of rallying the groups to come together, and we see Rick behind her, and that probably connects to the image of Rick standing with the sun behind him. I have no clue what this image is right here. This looks like they are inside of the kingdom. Jerry is dressed with his cobbler, and he's chilling. Carol's like, hold on, this is going to be loud or something. Did a walker get into the community? I mean, did something happen? Isn't everyone going to come running out of the community? They're at war. If they hear a gunshot, aren't they going to come running around the corner like literally everybody? So this image I just don't understand. Maybe there's training happening. Next up, we got a beautiful Shiva. Now around the teeth and the eyes, something looks off, but other than that, it is beautifully done. And I think, especially for the budget and everything they got going on with the TV show, I think this is great. The scale of what's going on this season. I think it's a lot better than the CGI deer they had last year, but unfortunately, I think this might be the end of Shiva. We have walkers surrounding the tiger, and I know she could just, eat and attack the people, and that's probably what it is. But you get a little nervous thinking, okay, this is CGI, it's a little expensive. What if the kingdom was attacked, and they tried to make a getaway? Ezekiel gets wounded, Jerry's trying to help him away, and Shiva comes out of nowhere and she saves the day in a big way, but ends up dying herself. It's a very sad and tragic way to end a tiger's life on the show, and I think the audience would just be heartbroken for the tiger, for the beast, especially in that moment and how it plays out. So we'll have to see. It might be a little too early to kill Shiva at this point in time, though. We got the cheesiest line in the trailer. Maybe it'll play better in the show. There's just something off here. And I don't care how good of an actor you are. Everything about this and how it played out, there's just no way it's going to come off right. I don't know. This is a line I just really wish they would take out of the show. All right, coming up, we got this zombie in the woods, and I think this is around Morgan's Negan's area. Now you get what I'm assuming is the battle inside the sanctuary, and then you have Jerry hitting the zombie. The CGI is shit at this point, and I think there's one main reason for that. It looks like butter, though, the way the axe moves through the skull. It doesn't get stuck in it, but it's missing that realism where the weight of the axe moves the head or the body of the walker. There's no way in hell a walker's gonna get an axe driven through its head. The axe just goes cleanly into the head like butter, and it really destroys all the realism, and I truly wish they would start implying, and I know you gotta keep it still to be able to make it easier for the CGI, but there's gotta be a way they can hunch down to make it look like they were actually hit with something, because it just doesn't, drive into your skull or into your body cleanly and then stop cleanly. There's a moment where his force and pulling down, it drives into the skull, but after a while, the body, the meat, and the flesh, it's slowing the axe down, so the whole body of the walker is going to hunch downward. It's not just going to stand there. I don't know. This whole scene just looked off with that CGI, but still, some badass war fighting. I'm cool with that. So, and I think this is at the sanctuary. So is this. I think this is them surrounding the sanctuary, getting into position. It looks like a lot of people have the white on their wrists, or I could be seeing things. Next up, we got an important image, and it's important to hear what Aaron is saying. He's saying we gotta let them get surrounded and let it do its thing, or something like that. And he's implying that all we need to do, maybe he's talking to Gabriel this time, and this is how Gabriel gets trapped, because he thinks they should do one more thing to add on top of it. I don't know. But Aaron is saying we just need to surround it with the walkers and let the walkers do the job for us. And I think this is when they're doing a simultaneous attack with the kingdom people, and then them, and maybe even possibly Rick and the other gang on the inside. And I know that's a little tricky. It's most likely the sanctuary and an outpost, but I think whatever they're doing here, they're not all right next to each other. After they get surrounded, I think Negan is clearly pissed. Maybe he even got news that they attacked another outpost, and he's fuming now. Meaning he could be getting the news, and before he receives the news, like the messenger walks into the sanctuary, they get attacked at the sanctuary, and then once they're all inside, the messenger is like, by the way, Negan, we got attacked, everyone's dead, and he's really pissed and he's slamming his bat down. For everyone asking about the inconsistency with the bat, they most likely are using a different bat than the one he just carries around on display, because he's banging it off the table. You don't want to ruin the main bat for filming, whacking it off the table. So the piece on the top most likely either fell down or they forgot to do it when they were putting this bat together. But yeah, I do believe this is a different bat, just so he can slam it on the table. Michonne is still at whatever place she's at, opening a door. This right here is why I think there's an explosion that lets them walk into the compound, the Savior compound. Now, it's either an explosion and they enter too, or it's an explosion and they just let the walkers in. And I think it's odd how this is going to happen. I'm curious to see how it plays out, because you have the kingdom fighting walkers and the Saviors at the same time. So it looks like they had this explosion and they got to time it just right. You have an explosion, you go in, you kill as many as you can on the outside, and you lure the walkers in, but then you got to make your getaway at the same time. So maybe something goes wrong where they don't get out in time, so they got to fight the walkers. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see them implement this. And you know what? The thought just dawned on me. This could be an RPG. Negan's crazy enough, he probably just shoots it at his own fence. At the Saviors who are down there trying to sneak in. Yeah, whatever. Here we got the King and we got Jesus and Eduardo in the back, and I think this is just the communities when they are meeting with each other, planning out what they're going to do. And with the car shields in the background, they are either setting up for the attack, or this is their big speech preparing for unity and building the armies with the different communities. Now, in the back, Eduardo is played by my boy Peter Zimmerman. Now, he was cool enough to let me interview him recently. We did a part 1 and a part 2. Check out that interview, and he even said during the mid-season break he will come back and discuss filming for the first half of The Walking Dead Season 8. So huge thank you to Peter. Go ahead and follow him on Twitter. He's a really awesome dude. This is a cool image of Dwight with this walker here. Look at the walker's face. Half his face is gone. So I really want to see the context surrounding this scene and this moment to see what kind of symbolism they're putting here. I mean, really quick, we do know that the walkers are on the fence because they are most likely people that failed Negan or didn't do as he said. Dwight is in a position where he's about to betray. Well, he's actually betraying Negan as we speak. That walker might be symbolism for the fate of Dwight if he fails, being put on the wall. As far as it connecting to the story, I think this is where he's trying to doing something to sabotage it to get the survivors inside the sanctuary. This is the part where I think this is Rick. Now, I am really not certain about this one in particular. I think this is either Rick being brought in front of Jadis after he's captured because the two guys behind him, they are leading him and they let him go just before he gets to Jadis. It's either Rick or it's one of the saviors working out a deal with Jadis to turn Rick over to them, or it's a survivor and they're coming to say either give us Rick back or we're going to wipe you all out. We have you surrounded, this, that, and the third. I don't know. Pick one. I think this right here might just be Rick. What I'm really sketched out about though is I honestly thought the first place they would hit would be the trash group. Just wipe them sons of bitches out right now from the gate. I mean, you know where they're at. Look at them. They're still in their community. And this is the image of Rick. We've already done a whole video about him being captured. It is definitely him. You can see his gunshot gauze wound on his left side anyway. And then if you watch the video, you could clearly see in high def that it is Rick Grimes who is a captive here. And look at that symbolism. I love it. You can read a lot in this, but just think, the end of season 6 where we have Glenn, Michonne, Rosita, Daryl, they have been captured and they're in the back of the van and there's the light shining through those holes. I love this. I love what they did here. Now this one's really difficult to tell here, but this might either be the fight at the sanctuary or this is an attack at the kingdom somehow. I'm guessing it's the sanctuary. Now you gotta look close because either he is way over dramatic when he swings his sword cane here, but he cuts the walker's head and he reels back as if he got shot in the shoulder. And that's why I think Jerry has to help lead him away and Shiva saves his life because he's been shot in the shoulder. I mean, that really looks like he gets popped in that shoulder and he reels back. I don't see him being that dramatic, swinging the shit out of his cane like that. Next up, we get the walkers. I think they're actually after Ezekiel in this moment, and this lines up with the clip of Shiva surrounded by walkers. This I can't pinpoint. This looks like there's some kind of trap that stabbed this animal, and no, it's not Shiva. It looks like a bear or a deer. Maybe they set a trap and they caught food. They caught a bear or some type of animal, and Carl's going to get it out, but he's attacked by walkers. He pulls his gun out here, which means he got surprised by the ninja walker most likely, and he shoots the walker and gets out of it. That's what I'm guessing. Now we're back at the outpost, or one of the outposts, and the savior shooting at Carol. It gets a little weird here though because it looks like they are trading gunfire. However, when they're inside, it looks like they're being all quiet. So did the people on the inside not hear the gunfire, or is this a different outpost? Now when Morgan said I don't die, I took this as he's gonna die this season. But if you remember back in season 3, episode 12 I think it is, it's called Clear, but it's where Rick comes back to gather the guns and runs into Morgan, and Morgan talks about himself being the ones who don't die, the weak ones and all this stuff. So he's regressed back to that train of thought. That's all I took from that. And we see an awesome image next of Morgan trading gunfire inside the outpost, and Rick in one of the outposts or a different area slamming into this shelf. Shit goes flying everywhere, and this is a good look, or at least a decent look, at the guy he's fighting. It's a bigger guy, so Rick gets his eye busted a little bit, but since we see him later with his face busted, even shooting in the hallway, it appears that that fight is just a fight, and he does get out of it, and he gets captured at a different point in time. Now this walker, this could be a walker that's about to gang up on Rick. Do you remember how we had, and I don't know how this is going to happen, if the walker's on a truck or on a hill or up high somehow, maybe there's a little mini cliff where Rick is at and this walker gets thrown on him, or I don't know, something happens here because we saw Rick was looking up. Either this walker is attacking Carl when he's on the ground, because look at the angle, or this walker is attacking Rick somehow. Michonne is in the middle of a sword fight, and I really hope that's what's happening here. This person doesn't look like to trash people, so I'm going to have to say she's most likely at a savior outpost. Here's more of them attacking the saviors, and they have their shields up. This is the zombie in the woods that I think gets stuck in Morgan's trap, and that guy right there is that other face of the unknown that we don't know if he's a savior or a runaway or someone from a totally different community, but I think this is a mini story here, or a mini part of Morgan's story. Remember, before Morgan met Eastman, people met him at his wooded area, and they were following him, maybe trying to rob him or maybe trying to link up with him, and he just stabbed both of them in the throat and killed them. I think maybe this is somebody traveling through the woods. Morgan's waiting for the saviors to kill him one by one, and Morgan runs into this guy. And I'm guessing maybe, just maybe, they're going to show that Morgan isn't all the way broken. Whatever Eastman told him, Morgan can fight in this fight, and he's fighting his demons as well, but he doesn't kill this guy because this guy is not a threat and he's not a savior. And I'm hoping that this leads to something really cool, and it kind of helps play out or unfold Morgan's story a little bit. You could see the pole, and this guy, what I don't get is if he's a savior or if he's a fighter, why does he have a knife and he's not doing anything to the zombie? He looks scared shitless, and the zombie isn't even free to attack him. He's stuck on the friggin' pole. So, I don't know. I don't see this guy being a soldier or a really mean bad guy. He's got a knife right there, for crying out loud, and it's like he's helpless. Here's an important moment. Look at the motorcycles in the back. Now, this is where the bomb is, and for some odd reason, there's a office chair just out of nowhere right in the middle of the screen. That is so friggin' weird. But you see the statue to the right? Remember, we saw the statue is a sign for one of the directions, one of the roads leading to the Savior compound. So this is either the Saviors leaving or the saviors heading there. Now, if saviors were leaving or heading to the sanctuary and they set up traps, they most likely set up these traps because they have the walker herd coming. So Daryl is being utilized heavy on this motorcycle. They set up traps. I'm guessing Jesus helps to do that. They blow up the saviors here, and when we see Daryl later drinking the water, luring the walkers through, we see the pieces of motorcycle that are all blown up. These kingdom people just get annihilated, and I don't know if this is when they're heading towards the sanctuary or a different outpost, but these people get slaughtered. There is a moment where the kingdom takes a really hard hit, so I think this might be later on, in maybe episode 3 or 4. Now, I'm guessing that's Daryl. We saw Daryl walking with Rick into this building. That looks like his crossbow, but he's also shooting a gun, because you can see the flashes when Rick is shooting his. You see flashes behind Rick. So they are shooting people inside this outpost, killing more of the saviors, and his eyes bloody. So his fist fight happened before this. So that's not where he was captured, but I do think after this is where he gets captured. Maybe this is Rick in the truck and it gets hit by this other truck, and that's how he gets captured. We do see Rick in this Jeep, and look at the bullet hole in his jeans. If he's captured, he most likely doesn't get his jeans back. I mean, why would he? That just doesn't make any sense. So this is before he gets captured, and this ending is kind of twisted a little bit. Rick is going after this Jeep here. There's a guy in the back. Now that guy in the back is probably going to either shoot at Rick or throw stuff at him. I don't think Rick just drives up and jumps in the Jeep. That just doesn't make sense if there's a bad guy in the front and the back. See how the body's slumped over? I think that guy is dead. So either Rick shoots at him, or more likely, as Rick is trying to catch up to them, Daryl is the one that shoots and kills the guy in the back of the Jeep, allowing Rick to come up to the Jeep and jump in. And if you really, really look at the guy who's driving this Jeep, it honestly looks like the guy with the long hair, you know, Shitlicker. But I could be reading way too much into that, but I'm telling you what, it honestly looks like Shitlicker. And then we get the title card, which is all clean, and I think that means that this is a whole new fresh, or at least maybe that's what they want us to believe. This is a whole new fresh beginning for The Walking Dead, and this right here is either the time skip. I did a whole video, and you can watch that for the details, but this is either Rick dreaming about what he wants his future to be while he's being held captive in that hot box, or this is actually a time skip, and this happens after the war, and they're gonna flash forward, show us Rick years after All Out War, and then go back to the war, and then by the end of the season or the mid-season, line up the ending of the war with the beginning of Rick's life in peaceful, alliance with the other communities. They're doing something really strange here. I'm not really sure what direction they're going to go with this. I'm really hoping that it is just to pay homage to the, episode 1, and this is in the very first episode of season 8. But after that, I want them to leave it alone until we get a whole season of war. Alright, Deadheads, to close this out, I got to admit, letting this trailer simmer for a while and then revisiting it a couple times, I have to be honest, this is probably, for me, the weakest trailer we have ever gotten in the entire series. I just kind of felt like the editing and the stuff they showed and the music, the whole montage was better, a lot better in previous seasons. I do really respect and love that it does not feel like they're showing us a lot. With that being said, we also have the 2 Patreon only live streams coming up next week. So next week and the week after. So if you're interested in those, head on over to the Patreon. You can find all the links down in that video description. And my regular subscribers who want nothing to do with Patreon, these are bonuses for Patreon. I just let you know here because this is my main platform. It's not like I'm changing, I'm doing these live streams for Patreon. If it wasn't for Patreon, we wouldn't do them. So it's not like you're missing anything. These are add-on new bonus ones for Patreon. It's not like I'm taking away my live streams for the channel. Those are going to still stay here as often as we can. Alright, I gotta shut up because this video is massive. Thoughts and opinions in the comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn.